I'm Monica, and I have 2 speeds, off and on. Hi, I'm Monica.
And I'm Steph.
This is our story of our friendship, Harry Potter, and Bruce Springsteen.
So, both of us have had a really long history with Bruce Springsteen. I grew up with him. He was in my house, kind of like a second entity. And as I started playing music later on, when I learned guitar, I always looked to Bruce Springsteen as the musician I wanted to be like, emulate, attempt to write, and perform like. So he's pretty much always been around for me.
Bruce Springsteen was not a thing in my house. That's a me thing. I discovered him in high school when Hungry Heart became big, and was surprised how many other songs of his that I knew, that had been done by other people. And then got an opportunity to see him live, and as with most people, that
it's
hooked me, hook, line, and sinker. And I was living in Seattle, so I was at Backstreets right when it was becoming a thing. So so that definitely through the 80s, drove that. But then there was that big dry period of the 90s and nothing. But in that period was when I was always a big fantasy nerd.
We're both big nerds.
Big nerds on a lot of things.
Music.
So even though I was well into adulthood, I wound up finding myself reading Harry Potter, being online and making friends, real life friends that began on the internet and then translated into real life, and watched something develop, which was a genre of music around Harry Potter.
Called Wizard Rock, naturally. And as Harry Potter became a thing, I also found Harry Potter separately, and as a musician, finally accepted the challenge and started my own Wizard Rock band in 2007, which is where we started to hear about each other.
Right. She had entered a contest, and the people who were judging it came to me and said, "Do you know about this girl? She likes Bruce Springsteen. I think you'd really like her."
And one of the more legacy-creating moments of my Wizard Rock career, at my first show, my now friend Matt, but a guy who I had only met briefly before, proclaimed me flat out the Bruce Springsteen of Wizard Rock. That started a reputation that I have encouraged from here on out as well.
So once Matt had done that, and Matt and I were good friends at that point, he's like, "You really need to meet Stephanie. She likes Bruce Springsteen." And the bottom line to it was always all these Harry Potter dorks telling us, "You guys would be best friends because you both like Bruce Springsteen."
Which, as Bruce Springsteen knows, that doesn't always mean that you're going to be best friends with someone.
I mean, you can always talk about Bruce Springsteen, and lyrics and concerts you've seen. And I was like, but...
So, in the Harry Potter community, Monica had also created this reputation of opening her houses up to Wizard Rock musicians to host concerts. And on a tour I was booking one winter, I needed a Final Destination concert to play, and so I booked a show at Monica's house, even though we had only really vaguely crossed paths at that point.
Right, I mean, we knew who each other was, but we'd never spoken.
So we booked the show, and I got ready for the tour and kind of forgot about it.
So we had the house party, and she was so talented. So, I mean, you are so talented, and she was so good, and she really was kind of like Bruce Springsteen, Wizard Rock, that after the show, I kind of went, so people tell me you like Bruce Springsteen.
And she was like, and in prepping for the house party, I found these, and she pulls out 3 or 4 cassette tapes that are all, the hand-labeled, clearly bootleg cassette
they went back,
tapes.
I mean, I'm a lot older. They went all the way back to before you were born.
And there was some good stuff on it, and so then
we decided we should listen to these immediately and start looking for a cassette player, and couldn't find one.
The only working cassette player we could find is in her Jeep, So we tried.
So we wind up in my Jeep out in the garage, abandoning the party, listening to a bootleg of Bruce in Kansas City, 1985, I think.
And we just
Trapped. We were listening to Trapped.
We were listening to Trapped, and we were talking about other things, and then we're both just crying and clutching each other. And that's kind of how the rest became history as far as friendships. And we were very aware that we shouldn't also then gas ourselves to death with the car fumes, because that would be the worst part of it. But from there, I mean, the friendship was made at that point. You know,
everybody was right. We were,
and it was one of those things where there was no stopping it.
Now, right around that time, both of us were suffering the effects of the economic meltdown of 2008.
And a lot of personal upheaval.
Personal upheaval in both of our lives.
It just made sense at a certain point for us to move in together.
Right, to be roommates. And so, like,
at that point, all of the jokes of, even though we weren't even living in the same states at that point, but that we were inseparable, etc., almost the same person, became that we were a conjoined entity.
Our friend Matt invited us to do a collab channel on YouTube, and we became actually known as collectively Team Thunder Road.
Yeah, because we've been referring to the house as that, so as the people that occupy it, we were Team Thunder Road. That's been like the last 2 years have just been this insanity and awesomeness and
Right. And fast forward to about, a month ago? We find out that Bruce has a Wizard Rock song.
Yeah.
That he
he wrote the very first Wizard Rock song. Before,
ever.
like 5 years before even the first Wizard Rock bands.
Bruce had done it and had written this song for Sam. We both got, like, literally, the idea of this was so... We had to sit down.
We couldn't handle it.
Not at all.
It was overload. Sensory and emotional overload.
Like I just sat down and went, I felt like I was going to pass out.
And all the information we have is that it was written, that it was copyrighted, and that 5 copies of it existed.
This is everything.
And then it was supposed to be in the first movie, but J.K. Rowling didn't want it to be.
Because she,
Which is cool.
That
we understand.
We love each other. Right.
And basically what happened is 2 months ago, we achieved a new life goal.
We're like, all that matters is getting a bootleg of that song.
Yeah.
So, we had tickets, or GEA tickets, in Louisville, on the Wrecking Ball tour.
This was going to be her 3rd, my 4th time seeing him this tour. We had our first GA of the tour, general admission tickets of the tour. We were taking her oldest kid to go see his first Springsteen
concert, which is a big
and we
deal.
were going to get in the lottery for the pit. So we were like, all of our plans for signs and stuff completely changed.
Getting this Harry Potter song. It meant we needed to get up close enough.
Yeah. So we got in the lottery, and we got in. We were front and center.
Right. We were
front of
right in front of
Steve.
Stevie. And
We
had this sign, which made up. And Bruce came over and gave us
And he was like, "Oh!"
He was like, he stopped.
Oh my gosh!
He stopped and he like leaned forward and read all of it. Yeah.
So we have confirmation that he acknowledges that the song still exists.
It's probably not on the teleprompter.
That he remembers it. So this is
our
Nothing Else Matters.
Nothing else matters. We are using our Springsteen I video as an
could have
opportunity to say thank you for all you've done, Bruce. Now, if you could just do this one last thing, and
We want nothing more.
just even the lyrics.
We'll even give you credit in the Wizard Rock community as
You could do
the
it.
first Wizard Rock
One of the
musician.
things I love about Bruce and I love about Wizard Rock, or that I love about the Harry Potter community, is they're both really socially active. They're both
There's a
really-
charity called the Harry Potter Alliance that has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for various things that that the world needs to make it a better place.
Right.
I mean, we've said time and time again we would pay good money just to hear this song. Yeah, reasonable. We're kind of not wealthy.
You know.
But I know so many other people would.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. So,
please.
Please.
Just,
we need this song.
yeah.
Just, sometime between now and when I die.
We're working every other angle we have, so we figure with movie contacts and music contacts and friends in New Jersey, so we figure we'd at least take a more direct route. So.
But if you can't, thank you for everything you've done to this point, Bruce.
So that's the story of Bruce Springsteen, Harry Potter, and the Royal We.